it to you personally from my email, because hopefully my email is not ending up in your spam box, because that would be a very bad thing. So I guess that said, why don't we move on from housekeeping to the actual heart of our lecture tonight. So tonight is, all about the
Gretchen, with religious people, and they do the whole Hadal, it's called. It's brutal because you're hungry, you want to eat, and you have to go through the whole thing. We did a version from my 4-year-old granddaughter's school. We got something, Mike.
Well, we're trying again. So now I'm buffer. I tried to refresh and now it's coming. It's just
But
circling.
it will work. There was a wire that was connecting them. I'm going to refresh anyway.
I think we're back.
It will work. There was a wire.
Yes, we are back.
Oh,
Woohoo!
yes. Yay. I'm seeing the
Where's
time
Adam?
difference.
Is that him there? No?
Okay.
Adam is
Yeah,
here.
10-second time difference. Spice wave Paul.
Do I wave? Yes. You see me?
Yep.
You can see me.
Well, we see you on Zoom and there we go. Now we see you on the actual video on
Yep.
the CEwire platform just because it's delayed a few seconds.
Okay. So we're just waiting for people to come on now. What time are they supposed to come on?
Now I have to shut off the computer. I have to shut the Zoom audio.
Paul, we don't have any set times this time. We just we told people because last time the times didn't work, so we told people just to jump on anytime between 6:30 and 8:30 for
Eastern time.
precisely this reason.
Eastern, 6:30, 8:30 Eastern.
Correct.
Okay, so they should be going on shortly then.
In about another 10 minutes or anytime in the next 2 hours. We might not have anybody for an hour. So we'll just have to wait and see how it all goes.
Got it. Okay. So anyway.
Adam, are you okay there? I know that you were having a hard time.
Was Adam there?
He's here, but he was trying to get things working and it looks like he just was fixing some stuff. So I know he's here. He's in the background doing stuff.
Now when I turn my computer sound on, Gretchen, and my sound for the live feed, I do get the double sound. You're not getting that?
I don't turn on my live feed
Okay.
to avoid that.
If you did, you'd have to turn it off, yeah, because you can get the 10-second overlap.
Yeah, I did it in the beginning when I saw that we had come back, and obviously I'm not going to turn them both on because then we'll get some feedback and that won't be pretty for anyone.
Right. See if I turn me.
Oh, so Adam is not happy with his video card and he didn't like the new video card and he swapped in a new one. So we'll see. Well, we've got a couple of people on here now, waving hi to everyone who's there.
Yep.
We're here in the chat. Our video is a few seconds delayed, but we can respond to you in chat. So I see we've got Jonathan, we've got Sarah. I think Derek has decided to come back in a little bit. So if you guys are still there, hi, thanks very much. Thanks for being here. And if you have any questions about this weekend's conference, please put them in chat and we'll be happy to answer them.
Do I go on chat too, or can I just stay this way?
Well, you have to go.
Hello, everyone.
Adam, did you pull out your hair?
I am increasingly convinced that the tech world is falling apart at the seams. So everything's working right now, as you can see. And what actually just happened here was, so we have a motto here that I fully believe, and that is that nothing new works. And so, in fact, I don't even know if you guys can see me yet on camera. Probably not.
No, because you still have the direct, there you go. You're coming back. Oh, you started to, but No, you're just showing us.
Have two Gretchens, and now I have.
seconds to refresh.
Well, he's not on the live stream. He's on Zoom, I assume.
No, I'm looking at the live stream. I tried to refresh it again,
Yeah.
and it's still. Oh,
Yeah.
wait, I think we're trying. Might be coming back.
Another thing is, I'm not seeing any counter anywhere of who's where. You usually get
Okay, I think we have audio. I think we're back.
I heard me.
Okay, everybody in the chat. Oh, yay.
Yay.
Sierra's here. Hi, Sierra. I'm glad that you can hear us.
But we don't see her moving though.
Okay, we're good. You're back.
Sarah, can you wave to us?
No, she's on chat.
I'm,
We can't see her.
no, we can't see her. Hello, I'm back. So yeah, it's very interesting. So this thing just keeps croaking for reasons that I have absolutely no idea. I just, restarted it again. Seems to work again.
Card that's doing it now. Right?
So I'm actually going to I'm not going to move. What I'm going to do is I'm going to sit here and I'm not going to touch anything, say anything, or do anything. In fact, I might not even breathe because I think that's for the best because something clearly here does not like me tonight.
So this would not affect the conference tomorrow as people
No,
are in the
not at all.
Audentio site.
No.
Okay.
Not at all. This is not Audentio's fault at all. It's, the streaming platforms that we're using to actually get the data out. What was happening, it's just the weirdest thing. It would just croak. The audio would stop and that would be the end. And it was just very strange. I'm not a huge fan of this card that I have because there was that expensive one that didn't work. This one that I dug out of my closet, which literally, now that I'm thinking about it, was first used at the first CEwire, which was
2015.
it was 10 years ago. So I'm feeling this card right now. I wish I could show you guys. It's shaped like almost like a little pack of cigarettes. It's on fire. I mean, it is so warm trying to do all of this. So clearly this is not ideal. So maybe after we finish up here tonight, I will be running out to my local electronics store and or begging Amazon to send me something as quickly as possible to replace the card that went bad. But otherwise, it's looking pretty good now. So again, I'm going to hold my breath that it'll be okay and everything will work.
Do you find a counter somewhere we can find how many people are here and who they are? Because I'm not getting that.
There used to be one in the room itself. I don't know if it's still there. I don't know if it's operational or not.
I see one.
Where are you seeing it? With the word YouTube, where is it? To the left, to the right? I'm getting.
Hey everybody, it's Adam Farkas.
Whoops.
Welcome to it.
Sorry about that. Let me.
It's right below CEwire2024, right below Adam's name.
Nope. Oh, I got it now.
Now we see
I was
Rhonda.
too far up. I was too far up. Yeah, 12 people watching.
Yep. All right, cool. Well, is Rhonda still there?
So we
Yes,
have a
Rhonda's
picture
here.
of the
Thank you
guest.
for your patience.
Rhonda gets to witness all of this.
No problem. No problem.
Like live TV.
There you go.
Yeah, I was going to actually. So, Rhonda, maybe we could just before we talk to you about your stuff, maybe we should just wait for more people to come back in, and so everything will stabilize again. So, let me just let me divert here for a second then, because I want to go on an unhinged rant. I was just running around here under my desk, unclipping things, doing stuff. This is like I want to say the 5th tech problem I've had this week, and there are companies that should know better, and I just want to share this one thing. I hate to call any companies out ever, but this time I have to. So check this out. So I'm putting this up on the screen so everyone can see it. So we, like so many small businesses, use QuickBooks to handle the way we do our back end stuff, and QuickBooks is effectively a monopoly, right? So it's how most small companies handle their books. And I just wanted to share this with everyone because, oh my gosh, just to show you the ways that software can go wrong, even with larger companies, right? That's why I'm always amazed when it works at all. So we use this to try to actually send our honoraria payments to the speakers at the event, right? This is something that we're trying to do. Instead of using paper checks, which is what we've done forever, right? It's kind of difficult for me because it takes 2 days to cut all those checks by hand, which is what I usually do. We're trying to move to this ACH system. And so tested it out this week with a few people, and the thing just failed as we were doing it. And it wouldn't even like fail in an amusing way where it was like, giving you some awesome error messages, telling you crazy stuff. You'd hit the button and it would just give you this: payment can't be scheduled, like immediately. And it's like, what the heck does that mean? And I'm like, what do you mean payment can't be scheduled? So I hit it 5 times, got the same message 5 times. Time number 6, it says, you've tried too many times, we're gonna lock you out for the day. Goodbye. I'm like, what? So tried it the next day. It worked for 1 transfer. 1. And I'm like, oh, okay, their software must not be broken again. And then it failed again and again and did this again. And I'm getting like more and more upset about this because, this isn't free. We pay for this. And so I finally get on their tech support and I sit there literally for an hour with them chatting about what this error is and how it works. And finally, they tell me this. Upon checking in, there is an error in the system. Yeah, no kidding. So this has already been reported to our product engineers, which means you're the only one who's been experiencing this. So, but this error literally has been going on for people for months without them being able to fix it.
No.
And I just bring this up because, this is a large multi-billion-dollar software company, right? It's a pay service, and yet they can't seem to fix this. Like,
Is this for the speakers?
yes, yeah. This is the system that we, in theory, will use to pay everyone instead of using paper checks because it's the 21st century now.
So far, it's worked for Steve and me. And Richard.
So it works, yeah. It works randomly. But anyway, I wasn't even going to rant about this unless we had spare time. But since I wanted to just kill some time right now to let people come back in, it's just amazing to me the way the tech can fail. But even more amazing to me when you have a large company where they can't actually fix their own stuff in a reasonable amount of time. So
When you're paying for the service.
right, it's not a free service, right? This is something we're actually paying for every month, and it's like we can't use it, and it's the most frustrating thing in the world. Second to sound not working on a live stream, which to me today is the most frustrating thing in the world.
Well, how can they do this for months and get away with it?
Well, so you have no choice really with accounting software these days because QuickBooks is almost a monopoly because it's what all the accountants know. So as a small business, if you set up an accounting system, your accountant will 9 times out of 10 say, hey, you have to use QuickBooks because it's what I'm familiar with. So,
But what I'm missing is, weren't they trying the same transactions and getting it kicked back to them anyway?
my theory about all this, just knowing a little bit about software, when you got this error message, it came up so fast when you tried to do it that something failed on their back end when their software communicated with the banking system in the US that does the ACH system, and it failed quickly. So there's something wrong with the communication between those two systems. That would be my best guess. Like maybe they had a server that crashed or is continuously crashing and they have to manually bring back up, which is why randomly it works for a while and then dies again. I don't know.
So you think it's solved now?
No, probably not. We'll know on Monday, I guess.
When he tries to pay everybody.
When I try to pay everybody, or else I'm going to
weekend.
be signing a lot of checks, I guess, on Monday. So anyway, that's my story for the day. I thought that was pretty amusing.
Well, I wouldn't call it amusing. I'd call it really irritating.
Yep. So
yeah.
I guess in Rhonda's case, though, we have a case here where they have software that actually works properly, which is a great thing. So Rhonda, as we were getting prepared to come on with you here tonight, I'm a little disheveled here from trying to run over everything, but let me actually pull up on the screen so people can learn a little bit about you guys. So let me pull it up here so everyone can see it. So maybe you could tell us a little bit about Locate and how it all works.
Sure. It's it's an interesting company. It was started by a CPA, and it was started out of a doctor's need. And I've been in practice financing. I've been a consultant. I've worked at a DSO. And so when I saw this and talked to the founder, his name is David James, I thought this was just such a great solution for doctors to put them in the driver's seat of finding a practice that had available population to support an additional practice, and the right ratio of competition. So we can actually pull a map up and look at the competition and look at the demographics, including the patients who are, not patients, the population that is available, and help them focus in on an area. So we can do that in a broad area. We have a doctor who's looking at 4 cities in Idaho, and we've been able to find 10 locations for him to consider. And we've been able to do this in Brooklyn for a 2-doctor dental practice. So I thought it was exciting because I thought the doctor has been in a position where somebody else has chosen the position and presented it as available and for lease. And now the doctor has an active role in it, and it's extremely time efficient for the doctor and for whoever the doctor is working with in looking for a commercial space. So I was intrigued by it. And when I showed it to you and Gretchen, it's fun. It's really fun to see it work.
Yeah,
It is absolutely fun. Just all of the different things you can search for. And because I'm a metrics and analytics geek, I would just want to play with it to see what it came up with. So absolutely, it is amazing and remarkable what you can see from the inputs that you put in and when you change parameters. It's very, very cool.
Yeah, you know what's interesting
Yeah.
to me is in the past, I don't know, you know, and Dad, you and Steve, you know, you obviously have experience with this, running multiple locations over the years. It seems to me like when people pick locations, they almost do it like throwing a dart at a dartboard. Like at least they did in the past. Like you don't really know, right, how it's going to go when you open a new location. So there wasn't really any sort of scientific thought put into it. So that to me is kind of interesting.
So it's only new practices or people opening up second offices? What is the paradigm?
It's startups, buy-ins, acquisitions. It's practices for sale. We have brokers who use it. We have commercial multi-site owners, private multi-site owners. We've had people call us in a panic and say, I've got to sign a lease on Monday. Can you run through the stats here? I need to understand whether or not I should do this. So we have been in business since 2009, predominantly private labeling our product, and we've only recently started to work with a sales team and get our name out in the market. So that's how I pinged Adam, since I worked with Adam 10 years ago.
Yep. Yeah.
How do you
Adam,
develop how do you develop the algorithms for like well, our field, optometry? Does it have to be a certain amount of people in an area where it's not populated or less doctors? Let's say there's 2 per 50,000 and it can support 4. Is that sort of what you kind of have built?
No, it's a database. We buy industry information and we scrub that for our database. We buy Census Bureau information and we populate that annually. So the other thing that was interesting when I first applied for this position was I was selected for a Census Bureau audit, which I didn't know anything about. But has anybody ever seen a Census Bureau audit or heard of it?
Nope.
You get a little paper notice and it looks like one of those throwaway, go to dinner with us and we'll talk to you about your trust. And so I tossed it and then I got a second one and I opened it and there's a key and it's from the Census Bureau, and I still didn't trust that it was real. I thought it was some kind of a, sham thing. So I called the Census Bureau, gave them the key number, and they said, if you do not complete it, we will call you and we will come to your home. You are required to complete this. It's about 40 questions, and I felt it was really invasive. It was not at all like the census information every 10 years. It's what is your source of income? Is it likely to continue, go up, go down? What is the total of utility payments that you make? What is your property tax? What has your investment been made in your home? How long have you lived there?
That's a lot of work to answer some of those questions.
It was. And, when they tell you they're going to come to your home, you do your homework and you complete the survey. But we load that data we purchase that and we load that data in the database, and that's where some of the projections come from. It's where, you know, the number of seats for the state is determined for funding for, you know, education, roadways, you know, infrastructure projects. So if it's used for that, we do use it. And then what's really interesting is we have analysts who work behind the scene. I usually am demoing it and talking about partnerships. I talk to individual doctors too, but our analysts will actually pull up the information. They'll find an area of opportunity or a pocket of opportunity for a new practice, and then they manually go through and validate all the practice data. So they actually contact the practices that are within the search area and validate that those practices are open, how many doctors are in the practice, and how many doctor days, so that we can get a ratio on what the competition really is. So because there's a lot of work there, and because there's a really high level of customer service, we start the process with a call and we finish the process once a report is done, and we go through the report with the doctor. So I like the personalized service and the attention to the quality of the data that we deliver.
Do you only deal with the healthcare industry, or do you deal with other aspects like law and architecture, or is it only healthcare at this point?
Well, we're doing healthcare for specific locations or for our market research. We have demographic reports that can be used for any industry. And so, you know, I'm focused on healthcare. That's my goal, because that's what I like. It's what I know, it's what I like. But yeah, it's pretty interesting. And it's nice to be able to deliver a custom report to a doctor and go through it with them and make sure that they don't have any outstanding questions that we can answer for them.
Do you also integrate? There are other companies that do different things. Some companies somebody's considering buying a practice, and they go in and they they go through all the analytics, the nuts and bolts of the practice. Do they then interface with you to see if the demographics will support something, or is it you don't deal with those companies who do the analytics? One's called Williams Group, I don't know if you know it, and there's some others.
Yeah, we've got brokers, and we have group that helps doctors start practices that use our product to help support the recommendations. So, you know, hopefully that makes the doctor feel really comfortable.
Sure. One elephant in the room that I always think of that might be using you is private equity. Have they come to you and get the data they want?
They have their own sources of data.
Mhm.
Adam, if Rhonda shares her screen, is she able to pull up the site and show us a little bit? Or
Yeah. I mean, as long
that would be
as long
fine.
as Zoom doesn't self-destruct,
Okay.
we can give it a shot. So I don't know if you want to give it a try, Rhonda. And I think Gretchen, you're in control of this particular deal, so it may come up on your screen to let her do it.
Okay.
See, I'm not seeing a share screen.
It should be at the bottom.
Right.
Let's see.
There we go. Let's see.
There we go.
Oh yeah, look at that.
Okay. So here's our, this is where we're going to create a map, and I'm going to take you to Santa Rosa, California. And so the little house here is Dead Center, Santa Rosa. And let's say a doctor wants to open a practice. I'm going to switch this from optometry, and I'll explain that in a minute. We're going to do dental because I'll show you. Let's start with a 3-mile radius from the center of town. And what will come up are little white bubbles that are practices. So as I scroll over, those practice names come come up, and they would do the same in optometry, but I want to be careful with the information. So at first pass, you might say, you know, I'm not sure that there's room for another practice there, but actually I think there probably is. I can also layer in drive time for say 10 minutes and see where that takes us. I'm gonna move. I got the Brady Bunch here. I'm gonna have to move you. All right. So within 3 miles of the center of town, the population is 138,000. A household income is 110. The ideal ratio is 2,000 available population to support an additional practice. We're below that ratio. Our analysts can use the census blocks. If you see the little gray grids here, they can add and subtract population from those census blocks to get to the 2,000 number. This verified, those are the number of practices that have been verified this year in Santa Rosa. So those are the practices that we actually call them and find out how many days are open, how many doctors are practicing, how many doctor days. And then the drive time of 10 minutes actually reduces the ideal ratio. So then I look at a map, and trust me, the analysts are much better at this than I am. We have 2 uses for a polygon. One is if you're in an existing practice and you need to avoid a non-compete and make sure that you're placing a practice outside of that area, we can use it for that. The other is this, to me, looks like an area with some commercial property available.
Rhonda, would doctors be able to use this information for marketing purposes as well by noting where practices are located? And you might, because a practice radius, I mean, let's be real, it's just not going to be a perfect circle around everyone. That you might want to spend more marketing on this county versus another, or this zip code versus another.
Yep. So here's the map that you're absolutely right. And I think, you know, it's interesting too, because I had a doctor who was a GP, his partner was pedodontist. They wanted a practice in Brooklyn, and the pedodontist wanted to serve underprivileged children. And we got to that number by reducing the average household income. So if you look at the user-drawn polygon that I just put in here, we actually now have increased the population. We've decreased the income, but this is a likely spot for a successful practice. Kind of cool, huh? That's why Gretchen and I think it's fun.
It is so way cool. I mean, if I had access to that, I would be playing with it all day just to see what I could come up with. I think it is just really, really interesting. And the amount of data that you can get out of that to help drive decisions, well, it's neat.
Especially in
I mean, it does go on and on. I had a broker that I worked with a couple weeks ago, and when I did a polygon, the population was just under the 2,000, and we get that from the industry. But there were no specialists. Well, the doctor's business plan happened to include bringing specialists in, so that he still felt that he can meet the doctor's needs. And that's before it goes to an analyst where they really fine tune the plan. This is just a broad brush stroke, but it is really fun, actually.
Could you show us something else, like an underserved area? This is California, it's very densely populated, but let's say something in Montana, Wyoming, where people could find that there's just nobody. Is that possible? So that people who maybe want to relocate to a nice rural area?
Sure.
I've had
Billings,
like
Montana?
That sounds good. Is it snowing there?
I have no idea. We don't have a weather report on here yet.
That'd be great.
Okay.
It'll be so many less white circles.
Well, you know, Steve,
Well,
that is an interesting
discouraging,
point.
but in fact, it's not.
Yep. Yeah, Steve brings up an interesting point though, because this is one of the big things that people always say is, oh, you don't want to practice in Manhattan, right? There's too many other doctors around. Go find an underserved rural area. And people always say it, but how are you supposed to do it? Right? It would be really useful to have a tool to really figure out what is underserved.
Well, even in areas like Brookland, we can find locations there. And instead of having a radius of 3 miles, it might be a quarter of a mile.
Mhm.
So here's Billings. You want to go someplace more remote than this?
Butte, Montana.
Okay.
That way you don't have to put Montana again. Butt.
Okay. Let me put our 3 mile radius in here.
So that dock building is a proposed location?
It's the middle of the grid area.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm gonna have to create a new map. Hang on 1 second.
Sorry.
It's
Sorry for
okay.
your trouble. No,
It's a good thing. I like it.
Actually, what people are looking to do, open in like close to the rural area. Okay, that's perfect. You can see some maybe underserved spots next to the recreation area.
So what is that
Yeah.
showing us there, Rhonda? Those white circles, that's where locations are?
That's where there are practices.
These are dental
And
practices.
remember, we're still looking at dental, so that I'm not flashing.
Understood. Proprietary information.
Exactly. So I look at the satellite view because I know I can't pull anything up over here, and I'm not familiar with Butte at all. But let's carve out. You want me to carve out some room up here?
Yeah, that's good.
And
Well,
what's
I'd
that
love to-
radius? What's this radius of the circle?
The radius is 3 miles.
Oh, wow. Okay.
This is Census Bureau information. That is used generally because it's so much smaller than zip codes. And being smaller, the data within that area is generally, let's find that. Okay, we just took the ratio from 886 population to 1600 population. And that's just amateur me.
It's amazing.
I mean, here's another area over here that is even more dense. I probably should have tried that, but it's interesting.
You see that it really does make the search a lot easier. And do the doctors play with this, or you play with it for them and give suggestions?
I play for them. I get to play.
Yeah, so what a doctor would do is work with you to get the data that he or she needs to drive those decisions, and they don't get access to the tool. I mean, they might see it if you're having a session with someone and figuring out what they need, but yeah, it's not like you get a login or something if you become a client.
No, it's actually, I mean, even though I use it quite a bit, it's very sophisticated. And the other thing, so this is for a specific location that we're looking for. The other thing we can do, if you said, I still want to be in Butte, but I want the most favorable location you can find for me, we would actually hand this to an analyst and they would find between 10 and 20 locations for you to consider. So from there, we rank them and you go through the list. And let me see if I can pull up a report real quick. Get rid of all this stuff. Let's see. Here we go. So this is a market report, and this is for multiple practice locations to consider. And this is the end result of this research. Can you see the map with the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 12, 20?
Mhm. So this is the report that your client, the doctor, would receive.
Yeah, so if they call and say, or email or whatever, I really want to be someplace around Dayton, but I don't know exactly where. We would identify these areas for them. We'd print off a report, we'd send it to them, and then we'd walk through the report and go through why we ranked them the way that we did. The choice is theirs. We make no recommendation on which is the best, but this is based on the probability of success for a practice. And then if they find one they're really interested, or 2 or 3, then it's time to, engage a commercial broker and take a look at them. What the broader map, the market map, doesn't have is competition information. So if the doctor is concerned about the competition, and they should be, we can do a second report, which is the location report that we just looked at with the map. Does that make sense?
Yep. Yeah, I
Okay.
like your caveat that you are not making a value judgment or making a recommendation. All you're doing is providing data, and then the doctor can make his or her decision based on whatever needs they have and what they want to do. Interesting.
Yeah,
Do you have,
and sometimes there's an emotional attachment to one area over the other, and you can't put price on that. It's for a reason. It's next to children's school, in-laws for support for their children, a second practice that, they already have, and it makes more sense to keep them closer together so they're not losing time traveling back and forth.
Right.
But we're not the doctor, and we shouldn't be making that recommendation, so we don't, but we provide the same information for multiple locations.
do you have a tiered type service system, or is it one fee for what you do? And,
It's a fee per report. And so
okay.
the market survey is $7.99. It takes for 10 to 12, 20 locations, however we can carve out. It's $7.99. It takes 4 or 5, sometimes 8 to 10 days to identify that many locations for a practice. The location, which is the first one that we looked at, I'm going to remove the report. The locations, this would be location, specific location, and that's $3.99. The amount of time that that saves the doctor, broker, commercial real estate agent. I mean, the doctor's in the office when we're behind the scenes doing an awful lot of research to hand to them for consideration. I think that's valuable.
Absolutely.
And I think it's fun. Every time I go someplace or somebody moves, I pull them up on the map to see where, what's in the area.
I could see also where they would negate an area and say, well, let's try this area instead, and because nothing does fit their needs or their CPA's needs, etc. So it's really valuable information.
Yeah, it just streamlines that, and it really puts, in my opinion, my humble opinion, not the company, so that's why my boss isn't on the phone tonight, but it puts the doctor in the driver's seat. I know that everybody works in the doctor's best interest, but oftentimes wonder, and Adam and I talked about this. We know each other from when I was at a practice finance company, and I loved my job. I loved what I did, and I thought we brought huge value to doctors, but oftentimes wasn't sure that they were given all of the choices regarding location that they could have been if somebody who was helping them that had a vested interest in a certain commercial property or a listing. And we don't have that. We don't have a marketing gig that goes behind it. And so I think it's economical and efficient for a lot more people than just the doctor. But really, it comes down to the doctor being in the driver's seat.
So Rhonda, you have dental, and
Uh-huh.
you're now adding optometry into the mix. What led the company to start with dental, and why optometry now? And are you looking at other specialties?
Yeah, originally when David James started doing research on this, one, he's a big golfer, so he was looking at it from that perspective. He got involved with a commercial broker that was looking for space for a dentist and saw how difficult it was. He's a CPA, he's a CFO, and he put his technology expertise to work to try and solve the problem. And the more he looked at it, the more opportunity he saw. When I started with them, it was dental only, but my background is in four industries, which is optometric, vet, medical, and dental. The majority of my experience is in dental, but I love the optometric industry. And so we looked at where we could buy the data, how long it would take to load it in. There are similarities in practice demands, although the ratios change from industry to industry. We're doing veterinary now, and we're starting to attend trade shows for veterinary hospitals, mostly small animal, companion animal hospitals, that sort of thing, and specialists. And medical will come out next month. So I'm excited to be able to reach farther out and reconnect with people in the industry. And like I said, it's been fun.
When you say medical, what do you mean medical? Do you just mean like a PCP or just an internist? Where are you talking all different specialties?
All different specialties.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. It's that
Excellent.
one's been, it's pretty highly fragmented. And excuse me.
Okay.
Okay,
Well, it's just
I thought I heard a question, sorry. But that's taken a lot of research too, because when you see the specialties I have on the dental map here to the right, those specialties have ratios associated with them, and that comes from industry.
Oh, no, I sat there and I kept calculating the benefit of getting a meal versus the pain.
Okay. Sorry,
think-
we muted him.
Oh, okay, all
Yeah.
right. I
Experience,
couldn't tell if that was something I was supposed to be paying attention to. So for the medical specialties, we have internal medicine, we have cardiac surgery, we have I don't know how many specialties actually, to be honest with you. But we had to come up with the ratios from an industry perspective. So it took some time to do that, and that's why we haven't already launched. But it's such a valuable tool, and we have experience in the other industries, so we're forging ahead.
Well, I think it's great, and I'm really glad that you are in the eye care space, and I'm personally glad that you're back here. And
Thank
this
you.
has been a great conversation, and I know we're going to talk more tomorrow. But thanks for jumping in tonight and sharing what Locate Strategy can do.
Really cool
Thank you for
speed.
having me.
Okay, we'll speak to you tomorrow. We'll have
Okay.
more. You're in California, yeah? I see you're in California?
I'm in Scottsdale, Arizona.
Okay, because your time was 4 o'clock, that's why I could tell. You're
Yeah,
west.
funny when you see everybody's screen. It's like, what is that there? It's my dogs.
I really like the dog sipping wine.
Well, it's two of my mainstays, right? Wine and dogs. All right, should I exit or you want me to hang out?
You can do either one, but I do know that we've got our friends from Visionics here as well. We've got Sierra and we've got David. Hi, you guys.
Hey, how are you?
Full house, yeah.
Yeah, we sorry to just jump right in there without any little warning, but thanks for your
Okay.
patience, and very cool that people are hanging out and hearing what other people have to say.
I thought that was interesting. I thought it was great. Yeah.
Yeah, very, very cool. And
Thank you.
we had quite the conversation last night. So we had the webinar with Dr. Mila Bruzek that I thought went really, really well. I am a big fan of his, and I like his lecture style. It's very conversational, and I think we had some great questions at the end talking about multimodal uses of Solix.
Yes, I loved the webinar. It was great. Very easy to listen to and a lot of information.
Yeah,
Um,
always does a good job.
Yep.
Yeah, and
how's the
look,
penetration going? Oh, you talk. Go ahead.
no, look, the OCT that he presents on is just it's just amazing. It does so many things now within one device. I think he has as much fun talking about it as he does using it in his clinic and getting the results from it. He really is passionate about it.
Yep, and I'm gonna put up on the screen right now, actually, so everyone can see what we're talking about. The one thing that surprised me a little bit last night, he was talking about my biography, which I didn't really. I think that has to be one of the first times we've gotten into it in a webinar before. Just fascinating that I had no idea actually, as the webinar unfolded, just how many things the device actually does. It's kind of crazy.
What does the whole system cost?
It all really depends on what modules you have put on the device. So we have a couple different price ranges based on what the needs of the clinic are. We actually can build our OCTs to the need of the clinic. So for some clinics, like the Solix comes with full anterior segment, full range anterior segment. So you get the full cornea. So when Mile was talking last night, he was talking probably a lot about scleral lens fits, because that's his passion, right?
Mhm.
We did a little bit on, we did some information on sagittal depth, and that was very, very interesting.
Yeah, I mean, you're getting your vault depth, sagittal depth, and now you can go white to white. And with some of the new software we have coming out, you can actually do a 360 view of how it fits on the cornea, not just a horizontal. So you can go vertical, then you can also do a star scan. So it really helps out the clinics when I look at that 360 view with the scleral lens fit.
Right, and in fact, I put up a chart actually on the screen. This would have been handy to have last night. I'm sorry I didn't find it last night because someone was asking questions about the other different models. But this is really handy too. The difference between the Solix Essential and Solix itself. So you can kind of see, as Paul was asking, how much does it cost? Well, it really depends, right, on what it is that you want.
All the modules in there, and you just turn them on if somebody wants to purchase another one, or they have to be installed.
Well, what we have is right now we currently have two models of the Solix. So if you look at the Solix and then the Solix Essential, the Solix Essential was really designed where there was redundancy in a clinic. So for some clinics, they'd rather remove the redundancies of the older equipment and have just one Solix, whether it's space or whether it's just convenience of having the patient sit at one chin rest. But for others, it may be price related. So when you do remove some of those other items, you can save up to $10,000 on the device. And what you'd be removing on the Essentials you saw on that list would be the true color camera, the IR camera, which does give you the My Biography and the anterior segment imaging. And then we don't send out the full range lens. So with the Retina, you'll get a 16 and a quarter by 6 and a quarter. So 6 and a quarter deep by 16 and a quarter wide view of the Retina. Great for your high myopes because it gives you the depth where many other OCTs will go out maybe 14 inches or 14 millimeters. I apologize. But they cut off at 2 millimeters deep. So you don't see the full Retina. You see a wider range of it, but you're not getting that full 16 millimeter view. So we're seeing the curvature on a high myope. And if there's a retinal tear or something like that, you're seeing all that information with 16 millimeters. And you're getting the depth.
So basically, if you wanted everything on it, what's the total cost? You have a rich father-in-law that want to put their daughter into a practice. Money is no object.
Yeah, well,
What's the show discount?
Yeah, so if I said non-discounted, it's $69.9.
$60.
For the OCT, yeah. And then we have, like in a situation like this, we have buying group prices, and then we have other incentives that we roll out during the year, and we'll do trade-in incentives as well. But a box like
Right.
this by a competitor, as an example, would be in excess of $100,000.
Yeah. Adam was with me about 9 years ago. I bought an Optos for over $90,000 and then paid for a service contract. And that was in those dollars. So, and that was just the basic Optos at that time. Shows you the difference of what you can get.
Probably what the TX version of it. It looked like
Yeah.
yeah.
And the resolution wasn't that great, and we upgraded it, etc. But
No,
it was what we needed at the time. Adam, you were right next to me. Remember, he was at it was a Vision Expo. He said, "I can't believe you're signing for that now." But you know what? It paid for itself, and the technology was great for the time, and you just kept on adding to it.
Well, I
That's
think
probably your biggest problem is people have all this tech in their office that's getting archaic, and they just don't want to give it up to get new stuff like yours.
We probably got a show deal too by signing it right there on the show floor.
Yeah,
absolutely.
probably.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah, I mean, I think the difference, though, when you look at something like Solix, is just how small everything's become. It's kind of shocking, actually,
Sure.
that you can cram so much functionality into something so tiny. I don't think even maybe 10 years ago this would have been possible.
No, if we go back 14 years, 15 years, and you think about what the Stratus was and how big the Stratus was and how it took 3 hands to drive it. And it really just was an OCT. It did a star scan, it did a single line scan, and it was time domain. Yeah, it's just 15 years ago we were selling that type of technology, and you really couldn't see it. You know, I mean, you could see maybe half the layers. Where now we're seeing clearly the 14 layers of the retina. We're going into the choroid, we're going down to the scleral. So we're at the finish line. And I think when I came over here from a couple of the major box competitors, the thing that really got me was the image quality, both in the anterior segment and in the retina. I mean, it's just, I mean, if you could zoom in on that retina image, or if you could, show that to me is on our website it's just incredible.
Yep.
So
yeah, what was hilarious last night, Miller was showing us, we saw some of the scans that said scan quality 5 of 10, 6 of 10, and I'm looking at this and I'm like, really? Because that looks pretty darn good to me. That's what's so amazing about it.
Yeah, when you get in, so look, we've gone from looking at the retina in very high def images down through the choroid. So now we're looking at the impacts of certain disease states on the choroid. But then you bring in OCTA, and as most of the listeners probably aware, OptiView was the first to bring OCTA to market, and then we're again the first and only with OCTA analytics. And the difference now is in the analytics. It's being able to compare blood flow to itself, visit to visit. And even in that image to the left, you're looking at a diabetic in that FAZ zone. So a diabetic could have all really good numbers, and even the photos could look okay, and even the retina could look healthy. But when you get into the FAZ zone and that circle right there where it's dark there, you start seeing that should be nice and clear and tight, a nice tight circle around the fovea. And you can see with those, you're seeing those blood vessels fall off, and that FAZ zone will begin to expand. We can measure that area visit to visit. So it makes a great impact with doctors and their diabetics.
Yep, absolutely.
I'm really into AI. In fact, I have a lecture in CEwire, and I could see using this with artificial intelligence to predict systemic disease in the body, and perhaps integrating with that, whether it be Alzheimer's or many other conditions, because the resolution is so great of the vessels.
Yeah, and again, the new thing, and I don't know that it's all that new, but it was new to me when I was with one of the other competitors, and we were in a large clinic and we were trying to show our OCTA at that time, and the speed just couldn't handle their needs in a real clinic. We've since shown this device there, and what they're looking at now is blood flow and changes within the optic nerve head, right? And
Yep.
how that's impacting and impactful within glaucoma. So we talk about AI within our device, depending on which scans you've taken, our software will automatically have that put into the there it is. Well, I'll have it automatically put into one of our reports. So let's say you didn't take a colored fundus photo, then it would give you the SLO image. And if you didn't do OCTA, it wouldn't have put the OCTA in there. So what happens with some of the other manufacturers, you have to figure out which report do I want to look at today? What report, is one of 20. You're looking at one glaucoma report with us, dual eye, with all this information. And if you go left to right, top to bottom, I mean, you can see a great fundus image. So what doctors want is they want that great image of the optic nerve head. Then they can see the changes to the right there. And that is your change against normal. So you can look where you're seeing reds and yellows there. That's your deviation map. And then if you go just one down to the left, there's your ganglion cell analysis. And then the one to the right is your RNFL. And then you have your hemisphere, you have your asymmetric viewpoints, and then you have your blood vessel image with the OCTA, color coded so you can see where the dropout is. And it follows the trend. You can see where those colors are in that, towards that vascular structure going out into the posterior pole. So it's one report, and you have an image of the cup as well and the nerve in your OCT image. Just a lot of information, right, to help you make the right decision.
David, I'm sorry, go
Absolutely.
ahead.
No, please.
Do you offer any insights to doctors when they get the machine so that they understand what they're looking at? Because I'm sure that the reports you're providing and the depth of information, it may not be what they're accustomed to. So what can doctors look for from Visionics to help them with this big deluge of data that's going to help them?
That's great. So Dr. Rodman spoke at the National Vision Source Exchange on our behalf, and she brought that very point up, that you can almost get look at all this information. You don't want to change how you're treating your patients, but you got to kind of adopt this at some point. So we do have a lot of educational pieces, a lot of papers written. We have our OptiView Academy site, which will walk doctors through our reports, what our reports are telling them. We have remote training that we can do. We do on-site training. And then we have upwards of 50 commercial brand ambassadors that in many cases are available, who hands-on work with this device every day, like Melee, are a call away or an email away to support our existing or new customers when they enter into this technology.
That's great.
Gretchen, most of the data here is stuff that most ODs who are competent would know. It's just all of it together. And like you say, they might know individual things, but putting it all together, they might need a Miley to help them. Do I pull the trigger in this person? Do I change medication? Do I refer them out, etc.? So most of this stuff is pretty well known, GCC analysis or retinal nerve fiber analysis, etc., etc. So it's not new stuff. It's just that it's put in a great way and very comprehensive in one little piece of paper.
Here's the part that really is exciting. We were sitting at, we've had national show season essentially these past couple months, correct? We've had ASCRS, we had national buying group events. So I had an opportunity to sit with one of the gentlemen on our global R&D team who helped design a lot of the software. And we were talking about some of the competitors and what they do with OCT speeds, right? They just make their OCT faster. We made a choice with our existing and past technology to take that speed and make a difference in how we bring information back to the doctors and how we do our scans. So if you look at the RNFL scan, which is that second bottom to the right, with that circle on it, that's now 100 microns thick. Instead of just taking a small cut at 3.5 millimeters on there, we do a 100 micron scan. That allows us to get back to the same spot almost perfectly every time. It allows us to find the same spot and center up darn near every time. And the numbers and the statistics that were presented in an FDA study is we have a 0.7 R&R as a result of how we utilize our at-acquisition and post-acquisition tracking, that 100 micron circle. 0.7 R&R, what that represents is each device, when they go through FDA approval, they'll have 3 devices with 3 different users, and they'll run about 125 patients. And at the end, they're looking at reproducibility and repeatability. We're at 0.7 microns. Where the best in the industry is us at 1.6. And then our competitors fall into the 1.9 range. What does that mean? It means with fast-acting glaucoma, I'm catching it within potentially 7 months, where it may take 2.5 years on another device. So we're using the technology and the speed just not to make your OCT faster, to bring more information so we can have earlier detection, which is why we have an OCT in the first place. We want better and faster detection of disease so we can get in front of it. That's the part about this device that I love. And now you start bringing in OCTA, and you start looking at the nerve a little bit differently. And what happens in glaucoma, if you get to the end stage of glaucoma, you basically stop losing RNFL at about 50 microns. You stop running OCTs at that point. You won't see change in the RNFL. You'll see change down to 30 microns with the OCTA analytics. So you can follow that patient longer to see if there's additional structural changes rather than functional.
Okay. I think Julie Rodman also is giving a lecture on OCTA, so she probably has this in it. I'll have to listen to it again, and she's great,
Yeah.
as you will know.
Yeah, she'll speak to the R&R. She'll speak to the 100 micron ring. I would say in that area of the eye, the more information, the better. Anything with glaucoma, we're just trying to build the puzzle. And the question I've always asked glaucoma specialists, I ask doctors at shows all the time. I said, when you're managing a glaucoma patient, what's worse, missing glaucoma or treating a patient when they don't have glaucoma? You know, calling a suspect a glaucoma patient when they're potentially it's not. And I get mixed results. Steve, what are your thoughts on that?
I would rather treat a person who doesn't have glaucoma and keep on following them and might unpull the trigger than the latter.
I agree.
Because you don't want to, it's obvious that you don't want to overtreat somebody, but fine, they might have some anterior segment corneal problems because of the BAK in the medication, but what are you actually doing wrong? There's very little side effects to your treatment other than expense. And as you follow them, if you find, as this equipment gets better and better and you find, maybe you don't have glaucoma, you then back off on your treatment plan. Well, if you miss it, and they progress, you're not going to get anything back.
It's probably the most common answer I get. So I appreciate your thoughts on it. There's another great image of the FAZ zone. So like you can see where there's dropout there and how that in time that area is going to expand. And the one thing that they find is this is an asymmetric change as well. So by having both eyes and following both eyes, you're again catching things well before we would have caught them in the past.
And to answer you, I remember I originally had a Heidelberg, probably maybe 20 years ago, and you get all those exclamation points in the nerve, and you wind up, and the person's fresh was 22, and you didn't have OCTs in those days, and the field's spotty. You wind up treating a lot of people who wound up not having glaucoma, and they were not the worst for wear, and then you wound up by untreating them. So kind of I answer my own question by historically doing that with instruments that weren't quite as capable, but gave us warning signs that made us nervous. We didn't have anything else to confirm or deny it.
I love the answer, and I think you're spot on. This is the view. This is the eye popper here. I mean, it's 16.25 millimeters, and you can see where that 6 millimeters comes into play when I talk about the depth of imaging, right?
Yep.
If you put that down to 2 millimeters, we always would put a piece of paper over the top of it. You're only going to see a portion of the story, right? And what you're looking for in a high myope is to see out there in the outside of the FAZ zone. So it's fascinating,
Resolution is very good.
and the resolution is
And it's
amazing.
probably, even of the vitreous and the traction of the vitreous, you can see so easily.
So
Great stuff.
sort of shifting gears here, though, back to anterior segment.
Yeah.
You know, there obviously Mille is a big scleral guy, but he shared something yesterday which I didn't even really think about, which is very useful and true. You know, most people just fit soft contact lenses these days, right? If we're going to be honest with ourselves, they fit disposable lenses, right? The McDonald's lenses, they call it. You know, one size fits most, and they have one that they just reach for routinely because it's what they know how to fit. Yet we know that sometimes patients do fail, and it wasn't really clear as to why, right? Why one would do better with a certain kind of off-the-shelf lens than another. And Mille was talking to us last night about, being able to measure sagittal depth, which is something that I really wouldn't have thought of, to actually tailor which of these sort of off-the-shelf disposable lenses you're going to use. And with that one little piece of data that you can get from the device, it can really help guide, what you fit in terms of a plain old disposable lens that will improve outcomes. So I thought that was a really interesting tip, because I know, when people start thinking about scleral lenses, a lot of folks obviously don't fit them and have no interest in it. So they sort of think, well, what do I need this for, right? Well, even if you're just fitting disposable lenses, this device can actually be incredibly handy to improve outcomes.
Yep. But you say it's true, Adam. A lot of people, doctors blame the patient when they're not successful. Everything looks good. The fit looks good to them when they didn't take the proper measurements that you're talking about because they're available. And you're correct that often you could have a better choice that you don't know of because you don't know what you don't know.
Yep.
And sagittal depth isn't something that is normally discussed among soft lenses. I mean, you hear that more with GP and obviously scleral lenses. So
I didn't even know
that chart that Mille shared last night really, really interesting, showing the range of sagittal depth among daily disposables.
We're going to actually replay that webinar tomorrow, at least a couple times, to show people, because I didn't even know they collected that data. Like I didn't know they actually had charts of this, so you could actually see it.
I wish this presentation was 2 months, 3 months in the future. I could really blow your minds away. We have some new stuff and exciting stuff coming out on this very device that is a very necessary aspect in diagnostics to the anterior segment.
Well, lucky for you, we've got 2 more CEwires coming.
So just use your imagination on what a company like Visionix could bring to tomography, you think of OCT, you think of the back of the eye. You come to OptiView and now Visionix, it's about the front of the eye as well. And while we're at ASCRS, and even at the event we were at last weekend, this national event, we were flooded by doctors who use and only use our pachymetry maps. So you flash by some of those, but I'm in one of the largest clinics in the Cleveland area, and they're making a wholesale change within their clinic to the Solex based on a lot of the stuff you're showing, but they absolutely won't use anyone's pachymetry maps but ours. And they made their own comparisons, and they made their own judgments, and they just found that ours were the most accurate and provided the most information based on what their needs are. And these were the corneal specialists, the cataract and refractive specialists within that clinic.
So is this a map of myopia control, for example? Is it being pushed down in the center?
Yeah, this is a post PRK.
Yeah.
So I have a question.
Perfectly done.
Can I just go, well, most optometrists, and that's the market that we have on ODwire, are general practitioners, most of whom see patients that may be first-time patients, patients that don't have any symptoms, they're healthy, and they want their eyes examined. What can this unit do for a healthy patient with no complaints, but you want to get a baseline reading? And how long would it take to do it using the equipment so they can have something on the record with a healthy eye to compare it 1 or 2 or 10 years down the road? So my question is, how long
Yeah,
would it take to-
that's the question. That's when I worked for Carl Zeiss Meditech, how we would get beat just about every day in the field. It was eye wellness. And now with the Solix, you have angio wellness for your diabetics, but it's the eye wellness scan, and it takes just a minute. It's one scan. It'll give you your ganglion cell analysis, and it'll give you a great image of the posterior pole along with the retina. This scan in itself takes 1 minute, both eyes, and gives all the data that you're looking at. You turn it into angio wellness on the Solix, and we can do eye wellness on all of our eye series products as well. But this is the one area for general practitioners to, one, assist with paying for the device, because this is a pay or pay program, much like Optos ran for years. We actually have papers written where we've adjoined the two, and doctors are doing both, because you see one thing on the surface, but when you look at the analytics, especially now with blood flow analytics, things you're not going to see on the surface. You have to go below the surface. And this is where this complements a lot of the screening practice that general clinicians are doing. I compare it to casting a net. Like, I talk to doctors about when you have all of these well patients, I call it casting a net. And Paul, just like you said, it's about creating those baselines and following that patient. So when they do come to you with some level of vision change and it's not refractive, we want to look at the structure of the eye, and you have a baseline set.
There's other issues where there's a feeling now that Alzheimer's can start being predicted based on retina and retinal flow. And we don't know enough about it yet, but you don't know what's going to happen 5 or 10 years down the road. It would be very nice to see a healthy retina and or someone that's starting to have memory loss, and do they have Alzheimer's, and to be able to go to the records when they were still healthy. So I'm just trying to see how one can market this to optometrists that have mainly a healthy practice, and they're not retinologists, they're not glaucoma specialists, they're run-of-the-mill optometrists that want to have as much information as possible, and they can market this to patients that they have the special equipment to do it.
Well, David, so what your model is that these wellness modules, whether it be nerve or retina for diabetes, the doctor pays you a fee and charges the patient a higher fee? Is that how it works?
No, we don't have a we don't charge the doctors for the use of the eye wellness. No, the eye wellness is part of the package. Yeah.
That was the old OptiView system, I believe. So that's great. That's fantastic. So Paul, it's just like having a wide field image done. We have it's the presentation of the doctor or the technician. We have this information we'd like to gather, and they do it. And I'm sure that with proper office management, the penetration is very high.
Right.
So they have that data already.
So I'd like to also get in a plug. Julie Rodman did a webinar with us all about eye wellness and angio wellness a few months ago. And what I'll do is I'm actually going to replay it tomorrow and on Sunday at the show as well. So, so Paul, if you want to tune in, you can get a sense then. I know you attended that one. You probably forgot. But just as a refresher, for sort of the average Joe, right, this gives you a sense of what you can do in terms of screening. And and I think she focused on the Solix specifically in her talk. So it would be interesting to revisit.
And again, this is simply, this report here is our eye wellness report. And again, it's converted to an angio wellness report just by virtue of doing the OCTA images on those patients' right eye and left eye.
Mhm. And let's say the instrument costs $1,000 a month with a 5-year dollar lease. So you get all the tax credits on 179, Paul,
Yes.
and you charge each patient $40 to do it, and you do 20 patients a day. Well, in one day you paid for the lease.
Yeah.
It's amazing how you can do that in your head, Steve.
I would talk.
That's why I asked about the price.
Yep.
You know, it's
Yeah, the
so
price
good
is
to
free.
have a
It's
really large
actually,
practice, and it's a great marketing tool.
yeah.
Yeah, and when the doctors purchase it, they actually get a wellness kit from us. So it will include training on how to train their staff to talk to patients and why they should do a wellness scan, and it includes examples of they can hand out like and they can customize it based off how much they want to charge for the wellness exam. It comes with videos for both the staff to explain the wellness and for your patients. So you can play it in your waiting room so they can hear, why they would want to get the wellness scan to kind of have that baseline and, make sure everything's okay. So that all comes as well.
We're in Passover week, where the one question is, why is this night different than from all other nights? That starts Passover. And I could paraphrase that and say, why is my practice different from all other practices?
Yeah.
And if you can do that in a community, you got the market. And this is one of the tools that could make that practice a very different kind of practice that no one else will have in a certain community. We have a general practitioner, OD, that doesn't do anything special. So I'm just looking for a marketing point of view.
But they get all the wellness plus all the much more complicated stuff. And it's forget about being a profit center, it's a practice builder center, like you said.
So my point is, should the company itself
Exactly right.
sell wellness eyes as well as pathology eyes? Since most of them deal with wellness eyes, not pathology.
Yeah. You've seen I don't know if you've seen the lectures, but the diabetic that looks fine with a wide scan image or a view with a Vogue lens, suddenly with this instrument, they see all these issues that you'd never pick up.
Julie Rodman has several cases when she does that wellness presentation, and she talks to that very point, that your standard fundus photo and even your standard OCT can miss what's happening in that FAZ zone, within that. So look, I find at times is a forgotten art in a clinic, because once a clinic starts to build and develop their patient base, especially in the medical aspects of the clinic, the OCT is running quite a bit. And I find that not only myself, but with my team of sales guys in the East, I remind them to remind their doctors how important and how impactful. And I love that you said it, Steve, because it's practice building. We should always be building out our practice and growing our practice. And you mentioned the meibomian glands, but again, even that falls into like a wellness level exam, right? The pachymetry maps are also a measure of the tear film layer in that epithelial map. So we're looking at a lot of things within these patients who may represent themselves as well, but we could see, certain things that, that may need to be looked at a little bit further down the road, looked at closer, especially where there's history. We ask all the questions when the patients come in, right? We fill out all the forms, and then some of that drives the eye wellness exams as well.
It's been said, if you have 250 glaucoma patients, you don't need any other parts of your practice. They'll be there often enough doing tests that are necessary like these. The only problem I could see is if you have a practice like that, very pathology oriented, there'll be a backup with this instrument. And do you find I hate to admit that after a few months, my staff was far better at using my equipment than I was? You find the same thing?
Yeah, well, they should be, and you would want them to be, correct? You want them to be the experts on the device, and we hope that after our training, all we have is certified photographers that come out and train the staff. And then we have really, really, really influential CBAs who, when there's some additional help needed by the doctors with interpretation, we have them available as well. So our goal with this product was to make a device that really could serve the complete clinic and bring all these diagnostic tools into one product, one chin rest. I wouldn't say it was motivated by COVID, but it's very COVID friendly. You don't have these patients moving around the office. And when you talk about office efficiencies, I forget who wrote the study. I wish I had written it down. There's a study out there where time is lost. The greatest time lost in the clinic is when those patients stand up from the waiting room chair and have to walk back to your diagnostic rooms and get that pre-testing done. So that study was meant to help people shorten that distance between your diagnostic area. So if you have a device where you can get a lot of those diagnostics done in one sitting, depending on what that patient's needs are, talked about it being maybe a contact lens fit. We talked about maybe being a scleral lens fit. Maybe it's a potential for keratoconus. Then you could talk about glaucoma and retina. You can get all these different exams or these different tests done at one sitting.
David, one thing that Mila had mentioned last night during the webinar is for his practice, he has this, the Solix testing conducted prior to seeing the patient as part of the pre-test workup, so that when he walks in the room to see the patient, he has all of that information. I mean, obviously he gives instructions to his tech ahead of time for Mrs. Jones, I want this, that, and the other thing. So that way he has all information at his fingertips. He doesn't need to, when he's finished with his exam, send the patient out to the tech to get testing and then have the patient come back in the chair. So right there, he says, is a really big time saver that it just adds maybe another very scant few minutes to get these tests done ahead of time. But just with the getting out of the exam chair, leaving the room, going into the pre-testing room, getting situated, he says it's made a really big difference.
Each device comes with 6 dynamic review licenses. We can add more, very inexpensive to add additional licenses if more are needed. You have the one review station at the device. So it comes with 7 review stations, and that's dynamic review. You can look at the reports as well. You can generate these reports like we're looking at here, but you can also do the flyby within the fovea and macula per se, and we can do that dynamically. So you can look at the different slices.
Well, what do you mean dynamically?
Well, right now we're looking at a static image. So should we want to, say, measure the thickness on these middle 2 scans, and we wanted to go up superior in the retina there, see where that line crosses right through the fovea, and in the middle 2, they're almost like fundus photos. When you see so if you wanted to take a measurement of that line, say 100 microns above it, you could do that dynamically in the lane. You'd be able to scroll up and down where those scans were taken. So we're taking thousands of scans, and you can go ahead and measure any spot in the retina you want.
So basically, Gretchen, in the room, you're still connected to the instrument.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Wow, that's interesting.
Yeah.
It's part of the package. It's part of what comes with it. And by the way, in today's medical optometry, it's almost the standard anymore to look at these things. And even if it's just, looking at the reports in our EHR systems, but to go back and look at some of these scans dynamically is almost the standard. Sarah, I thought you had a few other things you wanted to mention today.
Yeah, I just wanted to kind of, we really dived into Solix and some of our OCTs, but I wanted to just, kind of remind everyone that Physionics kind of has the complete suite, and we're continuing to grow. Since we, in addition to all of our OptiView OCTs, we also have our flagship screening and refraction devices, lensometer. I know Dr. Hoff is presenting tomorrow on some lens stuff, so I'm sure that will be highlighted in there on some point. And we also have Brio and Waco finishing products. We have the Retinamax handheld autorefractor and keratometers, and more to come. So just always like to
It's
remind everyone
exciting.
what's else. Yeah.
No, that's exciting, Sarah, because we can walk into an office, and we talked about potentially a new clinic, and we can outfit them with chairs and stands all the way through to the OCT, to their autorefractor, to their topographers, to their imaging devices. And there's some other things going on too, Sarah. You talk about 2020 Now for a moment.
Oh yeah. Yeah. So at the end of last year, we went into a strategic partnership with 2020 Now to be able to seamlessly integrate almost all of our products with their platform and services. So if you're looking to offer some teleoptometry where you have maybe a remote office and you can't you're having trouble hiring a second OD, or you want to scale back, but again, don't want to hire, you can use their team of optometrists and certified technicians and offer in-house complete eye exams, but with a remote doctor. So we also have that partnership
This
now.
should be used remotely, also have it in one hub office, but the data be transmitted to other offices, or that's not possible?
Oh, it would certainly be
that is
transmitted to
possible.
other
Yes.
office. Yeah, it would certainly be transmitted. So
if you have like a hub and spoke where you
Right.
have, you're in one location and you want to see some patients in another, yes, you can do that as well.
it's kind of the reality of the
square
times.
lens,
Go ahead.
excuse me? Yeah, you have to. Does your square lens information, is that able to be transmitted to the labs directly, or does the doctor have to collate it together and send it in if they want to design the lens for the doctor, who gives them all the data about sagittal depth and curvature, etc.?
Yeah, so right now they would have to go in and put that in manually. It doesn't automatically send, so.
But it's fairly easy. It's no big deal. Yeah.
So hey, in Mile's presentation yesterday, did he talk about the time he saves now with the Solex in fitting the coming up with that fit?
I believe he did.
He goes through like half the trials he used to have to go through with the trial lens fits.
Yep. I think he did.
He definitely touched on that. So,
I mean, it's again, we're not just talking about catching things earlier and detecting them. We're talking about making an office more efficient. This is an exciting product. I mean, I can't wait till September to share what's coming. It does so much already, and it's already so exciting.
And you'll have to shoot us.
When these doctors see this device and we sit them through and we do a full-on demo, which we can do these demos virtually now. So that's really what's great. Like, we're having this conversation, showing all of this information. We have these great individuals within our organization who can do a 20 or 40-minute virtual demonstration off of a real device that sits in our hub office in Lombard, Illinois. And doctors find that very nice, right? Driving it, taking the photos is one thing. We can do that as well. But to have them be able to do it after hours or during their lunch break, to have a full-on virtual demo has been one of our best features of bringing on this new technology.
Great.
Love that. It's called Lombard, Illinois.
Yeah. So, look, we are running specials for this event, and we always run specials for the doctors and within this group, and we're blessed to be a part of it. So thank you so much for giving us the opportunity to speak on this device. We're just
Great. And if anybody wants to get in contact with you guys, we can just push them over to you. I certainly have your guys' email addresses. So if anyone has any questions about pricing or anything else, I'll just send them on over.
Yeah, and if they go to our in the vendor board, we have our like demo where they can pick a thing and then fill out a form, and we'll get them in contact with their local sales consultants.
Awesome. Great. Well, thank you so much for doing this tonight, for coming on out and sharing all this stuff. And it should be a fun weekend. Again, we're going to be running a bunch of your webinars in rotation this weekend as well. So if you tune in, don't be surprised if you hear some very familiar voices.
Thank
Thank
you.
you guys.
All right,
All right.
thanks.
Appreciate you all.
Yep, have a great
Have
night.
a nice weekend.
Thanks
Bye-bye.
much. Bye.
Always fun to learn about new stuff.
Yeah, things have gone so amazing in the last 15 years. It's incredible the difference.
Yep.
But
Talk about.
what percentage of these actually utilize it to its fullest extent? That's the concerning thing.
Yeah. Well, I mean, a device like the Solix, they're using it to its fullest extent. That would be challenging.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. So
Just
what time
imagine
is
it
it?
does
It's
5 times more than something and costs 2/3 the price from 15 years ago.
Y-
Just amazing.
yeah. I
It's
mean,
in,
it's kind of shocking actually. I don't know if you've had time to actually look at the Solix up close and in person, but the
Yeah.
next time you're at an event, really go play with it. It's kind of nuts.
Just refresh my memory. What were they before? Who did they merge with? Who did they take over? What was
So
um,
OptiView. So Visionics took over OptiView, and the Solix
right?
was in development for quite a while, and the pandemic hit, and it just kind of put the kibosh, I think, on the launch for a while. So it's kind of a slow rollout, and now they're definitely going full force with it. So pretty amazing.
I have an OptiView. That's why it looks so familiar. But they were talking about chairs and stands and things. Did they take over from Lombard also, or somebody else? Because they can equip a whole office. So it's not just the high tech stuff.
Well, it's funny. I don't know what they do with that. We'll have to ask Sierra, because when we were at the last trade show, so you can tell like their brand colors are this wonderful orange, and so they had a really cool chair actually. Not that anyone would actually outfit their office like that, but it matched the equipment for
No.
sure. It was with this great
We're
orange.
we're going back to the peach and green chairs.
Yep.
Oh,
they
yeah.
wear orange shirts at their booth too, at meetings, and I have cool orange pens that we were given.
Yep. Oh, in fact, the orange pen, everyone loves them. So we have let me show it to you guys. We have
They have hair, and they are diverse pens too.
so that's the
I like
OptiView
my
pens.
my Visionics pen.
It's pretty neat. So yeah, definitely a fun booth to stop by. Pretty cool. All right. So what time is it? It's 5 o'clock my time, so 8 o'clock Eastern. And so I think we're winding down here. I know we're supposed to go 3 hours tonight, but I'm just not sure how many more people we're going to get showing up.
Yeah, not many people are in kicking the tires, which is good. There's 10 people watching, and admin, Gretchen.
Yeah, so I'm
Yeah.
glad that we did it though,
Well-
because we discovered what's going to blow up on our end, which is good. I already have my order in at Amazon to replace the thing that blew up here, because I don't necessarily want to use a 10-year-old part this weekend. That's just
For that many hours, if
Yeah.
it's hot already.
yeah. I mean that's tempting fate. So Amazon said it's delivering it in the next 3 hours. So
Really,
We'll
they
see.
said that 3 hours are amazing.
I mean that Amazon on the West Coast is kind of, obviously we're not far from Seattle, is kind of their testing grounds for a lot of the stuff. So we get 2 or 3 hour
What time are we
delivery.
starting tomorrow?
Well, Dad, are you going to be around tomorrow, or you're not going to be here, are you?
I'm gonna leave here at 10:30 Eastern time.
Oh, okay. So we're starting actually. Oh God, at
You get an hour,
yeah. So we're
9:30.
yeah, so we're-
for us.
oh God. So yeah, we should be on the air tomorrow by 6:30 Pacific, 9:30 Eastern. So
Mhm. But I can handle all these interviews. I know MacuHealth, I know Lenses.
Oh, yeah, this-
Therapeutics, Dana, it's not a big deal.
yeah, no, it'll be fun tomorrow seeing everybody, and hopefully we won't have too many surprises. We didn't really get to it tonight. I didn't log us into the system at all to show you sort of what's changed, what's not changed. The big thing is the schedule. I know we're just talking to ourselves, but I just want to make everyone aware of it. So we had, if anyone asks, we just had a couple of changes to the schedule. So we know that Dr. Pizzamenti's not going to be here this time around, so that's why his lecture was scratched. So if you look on the narcotics track, you'll notice suspiciously that his lectures are missing there. And Dr. Polino had to back out for this weekend. So you'll notice where his lecture was. Now you just get some shilling to come into the lobby. So those,
Dr. Chisholm, you know about that?
which one?
Tom Chisholm?
Yep, yeah. So he may or may not be here. So we'll find out. And the other final one, the human trafficking lecture, was moved from its usual time to the very back end of the schedule, which is why, by the way, I keep some of these hours at the back end of the schedule totally open, because sometimes this happens where a speaker just can't make it earlier and they're like, oh, can you move me late? And I'm like, sure, not a problem. So her lecture's been moved out to 7:45.
We aim to be
Eastern.
flexible.
Yep.
Also, Dr. Brimmer is going to be on a catamaran
So-
hopefully with Wi-Fi.
So for people who may or may not, show up, I never like to hear about it. I only like to hear about it if they're sure they're not going to show up, because if they think they can't, then almost always they can get on a cell phone and do it. So
Sure.
I have faith in her that she'll be able to figure it out. That's kind of the cool part these days, is that cell phone networks, no matter where you are generally good enough to log into this. There are very few places that I can think of. Eastern Oregon is probably one of them where you have zero coverage. But for the most part, you can log into this thing anywhere. I mean, the bandwidth usage is low, especially if all you're doing is chatting. You can even pause the video if you are, the speaker who actually has to just interact with people. They know what they said. They don't need to watch their own video again. They can literally pause their video and just do the chat, and that is ultra low bandwidth. So you legitimately could do this from anywhere as a speaker.
Not that we're encouraging people to watch on an iPhone or any sort of phone, though.
No. We're certainly not encouraging people who are participating in the conference, right? They should be using a real computer so they can
Right,
type.
attendees.
Yep. So,
Mhm.
so those are the big schedule changes. There aren't many of them, so hopefully we won't have too much confusion this weekend. And it'll go smoothly. The software itself had some changes. So, not that you guys
We'll
care
give
too
the rest
much.
of them under the curtain.
So-
Anything that looks visible to us?
Yeah, so user-facing, a couple of changes that you may or may not care about or really notice. So this is the front page of the site. Audentio's done a great job of giving us tools now, which, and I'll be honest, I haven't fully taken advantage of them, of revamping this homepage. So you notice that I made a little spot up here, join us in the lobby, so I can send messages up here to people, right? I can actually customize this page to tell people what's going on, right?
Right.
So if there's a tragedy going on with the software or whatever, we can even let people know if something weird is happening. In fact, if I wanted to remind people about certain lectures being changed time-wise, I could put the notices up here now too. They had more functionality for this page actually to really customize it. I just haven't had the time to do it yet. So that's one of the big things you'll notice. The second big thing you'll notice, and this is a more of a dramatic change that we have to sort of make people aware of, this user interface on the left goes away when you go into other pages. So let's say I click on the list of courses, right? You'll notice that on the left side of the screen now, it just says back over here. That whole menu is gone. So people might panic a little bit if they saw this. I don't know. Maybe not. But that's just something to be aware of, that if they want to get back to where those menus were, they have to go back and they'll reappear. So the thinking and the logic behind this, as far as I understand, was that it allows them to make the actual video windows bigger. See if I can get in and show you guys. So you see how I'm in this particular lecture? Notice that by not having all that garbage on the left side of the screen and all those menus, the video window is actually a lot larger. So
That's important because the stuff at the bottom, which is the survey, the quiz, etc., they often miss because they don't have it.
So that I'm noticing here, actually, I have
Let's see when
I have to scroll on it, which is not good. That
that should come up.
Yeah, so I'll make sure,
and
I'll write him a note.
Because we get a lot of questions because people don't put the extra quarter-inch in. Okay. You happy with your draft for Philly, Gretchen?
I didn't even pay attention.
Well,
I can't say.
I stayed up at 12 o'clock last night because I got my grandson into it, and he stayed up with me watching everything and charting everything out and stuff, and got up for school at 6 o'clock in the morning. He slept over it, and I gave him credit.
Wow.
It used to be a nothing thing where 500 people would show up at the Felt Forum in New York, which is part of Madison Square Garden. It used to be, at least. And now 1 million people show up in these towns to do this thing. It's just incredible how they've marketed it.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, I never heard about it years ago.
All
Now
for players
it's
that
like this big thing.
all for players that might suck and you don't even know.
Yep.
Okay, guys, we're done.
Anybody terrible die, or just that you have to go to the funeral, or just
Me?
oh,
It was an aunt, my great aunt, and it's just
Oh,
tough because
okay.
it's on the heels of the memorial lunch I just had for my mom a few weeks ago. So
Sorry.
yeah, and so I have a cousin who lives in Brazil who I moved my mom's thing to coincide with his trip to the US, and he extended this relative died while he was here and he extended his trip so he could be there. So yeah, it's
So,
important that I be there.
That's your mom's sister?
No, this was my grandfather's sister-in-law.
Okay, great. Yeah.
So it was my grandfather's brother's wife.
Got it.
Yep. So my mom was the first of her generation to pass away, and this aunt is the last of the previous generation to pass away. So kind of odd
Amazing.
time.
In a couple of months' time.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, it's not fun, but it's what we do, you know?
Yeah. Well, I'd rather do this.
Yeah, I'd
So
rather
you'll
be
be
here too than going to a funeral. Absolutely.
you'll be here Sunday though, right?
Oh, yes, of course.
Because Sunday is when we have the block party and we have all the hors d'oeuvres coming. You're not listening.
We are listening. All right. So yeah. So sorry. I was just dealing with Identio, talking to them about the little thing about the
Sound.
the text. So here's what's bothering me about this. So the computer that I'm using right now is a bog standard, the one that you can actually see that I was browsing on. Bog standard 15-inch Windows laptop, full
Why
HD.
do you call it bog?
So like I'm not using like some bizarre like ultra high-end Mac with a 16:10 screen that's about 4K resolution, Retina, this, that, or the other. This is this machine is the kind of crap that you'd walk in to a Best Buy and purchase like right off the shelf, or a Staples. So this represents probably, I would say, like 70% of people who buy a PC these days. This is the kind of crap they're going to be buying. A 1920 by 1080 screen on a 15-inch laptop. And so this is like the most common use case, unless you're using a Mac or something where the screens are slightly taller, right? So Macs have slightly taller screens, right? The ratio is different. And so now I'm wondering, when they developed this, were they all using Macs? And for them, when you actually pull this up on a 16:10 screen, does it actually show all the text at the bottom? So for them, it was like, oh, no problem, it all fits. But like the reality is, for the most people do not have 16:10 screens. They're 16:9. And this, you're getting that scrolling effect. That can't be. So yeah. That is not
I
good.
have a pretty expensive, mine actually works, so I guess I have a better computer. I went into myopia management and everything's there, right? Like it should be. Want me to take a screenshot? No.
I mean, you can if you want, but I mean, I just, this is kind of the standard Windows laptop here. So I always, whenever I try to do anything like on ODwire, I run away from my Mac screaming. I'll use it sometimes because I like using them, and they're reliable, but I always want to know what things are going to look like on the biggest piece of crap I can find.
Right. Well, I think they also should do it that way because they are not the consumer.
Everyone should. I mean, that's, as John Fogerty said, when he mixed his albums, he never ever did it with his nice stereo equipment. He'd go out to his pickup truck and he wanted to hear what it would sound like coming out of his pickup truck, because that's where people were going to be listening to it. So
well, that's a good story.
It's the same idea. And so that's what I'm kind of wondering. I mean, it's easy to fall into this trap when you sit in front of gigantic monitors all day, right? Of not understanding how it'll work for more standard displays, and I'm fairly sure that's what happened here. So
Well,
It's
let me ask
almost
you this. Here is dumb question. I realize that if people need to scroll, they might have questions, but wouldn't it be better to have a bigger screen for the actual lecture?
yeah, but we're talking about fractions of an inch here, right? So see what I'm doing? I'm bouncing the screen and you can see it right here at the bottom. If you made this window slightly smaller, I'm talking about cut like a little bit off here, it would raise the text up here so it would all fit. So
really great.
I mean, I understand wanting to make the images as big as possible, but not at the expense of usability. So
Might that be a challenge doing it the night before?
probably, so it probably won't get done, but I'm telling you, it needs to be. Like I take the user's perspective on a lot of this stuff, and the user being someone who shouldn't have to stretch to see stuff. So for instance, like not only do you have to scroll down to see it here, there's no scroll bars here anymore, right? Because the trend has become, oh, we don't need to show scroll bars anymore. That's so old school. But there's no scroll bar and there's stuff down here. How would you even know that you needed to scroll down? Like we've reached a place, I think, where people are assuming that the user knows too much. And I still believe, and I believe it because I have to handle tech support, I believe that people don't know enough and you have to make it as simple as you can, or else it's just going to lead to problems.
Could they make it, for lack of a better word, top bias rather than bottom biased? You know what I'm saying? So everything would go up rather than down.
So I'm not sure if you can do that. I mean, I guess with JavaScript you could, but like this is just the way the page renders, right, from top to bottom. So you know, it
I have
just
two
scrolls off.
computers in front of me now, Adam. One's a high-end one that I bought about 6 months ago, and it shows fine. And the other one's an HP also, but an old crappy one. I just keep it for support in case something breaks, and it doesn't show up on that one. It's exactly what you said.
Yep.
One it's fine, one it's not.
Yeah, and that's going to be a problem. And unfortunately, the people who buy the crappiest computers are the ones who need the most support usually because they care the least about computing stuff, right? They get it because it's a necessary evil. And so they are going to generate the most questions. So I'm really concerned now. Not only did we lose the stuff on the left here, which is okay. I get why moving that away to make a big picture is fine. But then not being able to see the stuff at the bottom, oh boy, this is going to be, yeah, a wreck. So maybe we can work on it tonight, but we'll see how it goes.
We'll go in all the rooms and say, look at the bottom for your surveys, etc. Stuff like that. Whatever. Okay. See you 6:30 your time, 9:30 your time.
Yep. Yeah, the usual. Actually, I'm going to get here. We're going to probably go on at 6:30, so get here 15 minutes early, and we'll see the whole thing blow up.
And
All
Paul,
right.
let's 8:30 your time. See, we got 2 hours of you. You can give a speech.
Yep, see you tomorrow.
Yep. See you guys tomorrow.
Alrighty,
Have a
I'll
good
see you
night.
guys Sunday. I hope tomorrow goes well. Hang in there.
Yes.
Sorry
Thanks.
I can't be there.
Oh, no
No
worries.
problem. We got you back.
All right, Gretchen. Thanks so much.
All right. Sure.
Catch you later.
Bye.